Also joining us here outside Parliament House right now is Tom Switzer, who is a consultant at the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney. Good morning to you, Tom.
Morning, Carl.
First of all, front page of The Australian this morning, intelligence expert Des Ball claims we've opened the door for Chinese spies. Is that embarrassing for the government, or is it tricky to handle?
Yeah, both. In many respects. I mean, it's one thing for the Chinese Space Agency to use this ground station in Western Australia to monitor Chinese satellites, if you like, but it's another thing altogether for the Chinese military to use this ground station to spy on Australian and US naval warships. That would be a serious breach, and I think that if that were the case, and Des Ball is a very respected and distinguished intelligence expert, if that were the case, then the government would be unwittingly acting against the national interest.
Kim Beazley mentioned before or he was certainly suggesting that this was something the Australian government would have been aware of. Do you buy that?
Well, I think the government's certainly aware that there is a ground station there that's used by the Chinese Space Agency to monitor satellites, but I'm not convinced that the Australian government would accept that they are allowed to monitor Australian and US Navy warships. That's a different. I mean, the US alliance is a centrepiece of Australian security policy. It's one thing to have a very close and rapidly expanding trade relationship with China. That's a good thing, but it's different from the security issue.
This balancing act, the Chinese economy is $6 trillion, the American economy $14 trillion. It's catching fast, though.
It will, and by 2025, most experts forecast that the Chinese will have the largest economy in the world. Now, this creates all sorts of interesting questions for Australia over the next 10 to 20 years. Australia has a very close security relationship with the United States, but also rapidly developing trade relationship with China. So you've got to ride two horses simultaneously, if you like.
And you would buy also, as Laurie mentioned, that the US urging Australia to start sending uranium to India.
Yep.
That's all part of that tapestry as well.
Quite conceivably. I mean, the Howard government did sign on this deal back in 2007 with certain conditions attached, but the timing, I mean, this was announced yesterday by the Prime Minister, makes one think that it is linked to the US, which is developing a close relationship with India as a way of containing China, arguably.
All right. Tom, always good to talk to you. Thanks for your insight.
Thanks so much, Carl.
All right. There you go.